First topic of the day, Bill Ackman. He has tweeted a lot of tweets. We're not going to read all of them, but his sort of main thesis in his first tweet says inflation is out of control, inflation expectations are getting out of control, and the market needs to react to this. And the way for the market to react to this in a meaningful way is for the Fed to just rip off the Band-Aid, raise interest rates, get us to about 3% so that markets can self-adjust. So he went on a long sort of thread about this, basically saying this is what we need to do. And this is obviously his opinions. He's known for being a more active person in the market who has a significant voice. Justin, let's start off with you. Is the thesis of what he's saying, does it have merit? Should we just rip off the Band-Aid, really raise interest rates right now, and then let the market regulate over the next 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's being Captain Obvious here and being on a little bit on a pedestal. I think he missed the good limelight after the Netflix flop he had. I mean, like, okay, yeah, the answer is yes. We all know the Fed is behind the curve and they need to catch up and they need to raise rates. Now, I think what the Fed is doing is they're kind of playing in between the lines. They're being quicker than they were, but they're not being full blown scare the markets. So it's only 50 basis points. And I don't know. I think they are hoping that demand destruction happens and saves their butt. But honestly, nobody knows how quickly demand destruction is going to happen. So Bill's saying just rip the Band-Aid on and then cause the demand destruction. I don't know. Like, I'm not a Fed chairman. I think rates need to go up to fight inflation. I would hope that rates don't go. The concern that Bill, I think, is not giving enough credence to is that if you raise rates too far, too fast, too aggressively, literally money dries up because no lenders, when things are going up that fast, lenders will just stop. So then you have a credit crunch potentially and a money crunch, and then you might actually send the economy into a much deeper recession than it otherwise would. I think we're seeing signs that demand is already getting destroyed. I guess. Sorry, that's the right word. Destroyed naturally in the face of inflation. Basket sizes are growing down. So I think he's being a little bit aggressive here, but
So Tom, would it be a mistake for the Fed to just raise interest rates like crazy if Justin is right that demand may get distracted naturally?
Destroyed. I made that mistake. Destroyed.
You parrot. What's going on with you, bro? Distracted?
Justin got it in my head. Anyway, should we destroy the demand or should we artificially destroy the demand?
Well, what Bill is saying, and I agree with Justin, he needs a layup. When you go in what's happening with Bill Ackman is very similar to the dating world. You just went on a date and you got shot down. You shot your shot. You got shot down by a hot girl, and now you're looking for an easier date where you can get a layup and get your mojo back. So it's taking a very easy topic to attack because everybody knows the Fed isn't raising interest rates fast enough. Whether it's because the Fed is fearful from circumventing their own attempt at creating a soft landing, whether it's the U.S. debt looming above, preventing interest rates from going up, whatever the case may be, it's a consensus that the Fed is not raising interest as fast as theoretically or academically should be raised to address an 8% inflation. If you go by the standard in the industry, which is the Taylor rule, which says that you take the base inflation, which is 2% in the US, you take the current inflation, which is 8%, the delta between them is 6%, you multiply it by 2, which is 12%, that's the interest rate you need. So for an 8% inflation in the US, you need 12% interest. So they're way off that. It's an easy layup. And Mohamed El-Erian has been saying this for months, maybe even years. So he's kind of jumping on board a very obvious train. I agree with Justin. The thing is, as far as is he right or not, I think that he might be on the right side of history this time, because as much as you are fearful from crashing the market, whether it's the stock market or crashing demand and consumption, the problem is, and I mentioned this in the beginning, look at Target, look at Walmart. If you don't do it, inflation is going to eat away at the margins of these businesses, causing layoffs, causing less consumption, less demand anyways. So it's like saying, well, I'm not going to take this medicine, this antibiotics, because it's going to make me feel bad for a week. Well, my guy, if you're not going to take it, you're going to be dead in a month. So might be a good idea to take the antibiotics. So even though I think Bill had a big boo-boo, and speaking from a guy who had big boo-boos lately, I think on this point, he's 100% correct.
I just want to respond and say I still, yet again, do not understand the obsession. Well, I do understand it because it's an easy bogeyman of saying the Fed, they're at fault. They are the savior of the economy. But this is a weird one. He even said it in this tweet thread. He said there's structural tightness in energy and imbalances in energy, ag and food, housing and labor. Why don't we go fix that as a society? I think that's a Treasury Department. That's an executive department. That's a congressional thing. I think we need to go fix a lot of these supply side stuff. Just destroying demand is just, well, do you artificially destroy demand or does demand mediate itself? But there's a whole other side of the equation that we're not even like pushing for.
Well, here's the thing. If you raise interest rates, you create liquidity shortages and you essentially raise the cost of capital. You can control how long it persists and you can fine tune it. If you let inflation do it, it's like riding the dragon. It's also not linear. It's like a pandemic. It has a very kind of exponential growth to it. So you cannot control inflation and it's going to wreak havoc through your economy. And at some point, that's the point of no return. And with interest rates, you can actually regulate on and off, hotter, colder. So that's why I think he's right in that.
I mean, this is all very, very dependent on if you assume we have a wage price spiral. I mean, Tom, do you think we have a wage price spiral?
Well, not that I feel bad for truck drivers, but I mean, if we have to pay truck drivers $150,000 a year, which is kind of where we're at right now, and good for them for making the money. I mean, we definitely have a wage problem. I think inflation, as it's stated in the CPI numbers, is always lagging behind the reality. The same thing with wage inflation, the same thing with any sort of pricing indexing. The reality is that we're probably in double-digit inflations and have been for a while. The reality is that wages are raging out of control. Look, Kevin O'Leary, by the way, in his take was talking about it today. Like they have to pay $25 for minimum wage jobs of $15 just to get people to come in through the door. I mean, that's not a 5 or 6% inflation in wages. I mean, let's be real. These indices, they don't really reflect how bad things are.
I just want to end this with a chart here, just to remind everybody, CPI for all urban consumers. The question is, it's year over year compares. So the question is, we did see a moderation, deceleration in the CPI numbers from March. And so the question is, do we just keep inflecting up? And is that just a little blip on the data? Or does this hint at us sort of decelerating on CPI? I think that's a big question. And I don't know if anybody has the answer.
Yeah, nobody knows.